Good morning and welcome to my channel. Today is October 6th, 2020, and I want to thank all the listeners from Italy and around the world through the MaryTube channel. Thank you, Fabio, for allowing me to be part of your amazing channel. Today, I would like to speak to you a little bit about the importance of receiving Jesus on the tongue versus the hands. Now, I myself used to absolutely believe that it was no big deal to receive Jesus on the hands. In fact, when I saw people receiving on the tongues, I thought they were kind of stale and old-fashioned. And that was until I started to really ask our Lord to show me the things that I needed to straighten out in my life. And of course, God always seems to answer that question, that prayer request, right? And so as, the process began, he showed me the bigger things, but also he started showing me through some of our saints the truths about receiving Jesus on the hands. And so here are some of the quotes from several famous saints, including Pope John Paul II and Mother Teresa of Calcutta, of all people. So here's what John Paul II says about receiving communion on the hands. I cannot be in favor of the communion in the hand, and I cannot recommend it. The priest has a primordial responsibility as a servant of the Holy Eucharist, and for all the holy forms, primordial because it is complete. Touching the holy creations is a privilege of the ordained ones, so that's the priest. Communion in the hand was introduced by the modernist hierarchy without the authorization of the Holy See. Paul VI tenaciously opposed it, but decided to grant a pardon only where the use was already rooted to avoid widespread disobedience. Monsignor Juan Rodolfo Leis, the Argentine bishop, states, I know the history of the communion in the hand was clandestinely reintroduced, disseminated on the basis of equivocation, and confirmed through unwavering disobediences. The Holy Father, by imposing over 27 years a use that the Pope did not want to authorize because he considered as dangerous for the good of the Church, until they finally managed to spread it almost everywhere in the world. Now, this is Jesus to a visionary in Bolivia. Her name is Catalina Rivas. She's a stigmatized seer, and she's under the supervision of a bishop, Monsignor Fernandez. Actually, he's a Bolivian archbishop. Jesus says to her, there are neither 10 nor 20 executioners who hit my body, but many hands that hurt my body by receiving communion in their hand. The sacrilegious work of Satan. This is Jesus' words. He calls him the sacrilegious work of Satan. And then Jesus continues on communion in the mouth to Catherine Rivas. To those who do not receive in their hand my own body, blood, soul, and divinity, I promise to fill them with my blessings in their hands, heart, soul, and in all of their being. I promise them many more graces in their earthly life, as the consequent greatest guarantees of salvation, an increase of essential and accidental glory for all their eternal living with me in heaven. They will fill me in the communion a lot in all their being, and with such a fullness that they will take away from themselves their natural desire to touch me. These ones will always do a greater good to the souls. On the other hand, those who insist on taking me in their hand will remain hardened in many things towards my will, and obscured about my own taste, my own preaching, and my own magisterium. Here's another really good one. In 1976, a very famous exorcism took place, when the 16-year-old girl from a pious German family was suddenly afflicted by demonic possession. The demon, during an exorcism ordered by the local bishop, was forced to say, the thing, meaning the consecrated host, should not be placed in the hands. Priests must have courage. Lay people should not distribute it. During the distribution of that thing, the Holy Communion, you must kneel by command of that one, pointing to the statue of the Virgin that was nearby. The communion in the hand must be abolished because it is a work of mine. The bishop must forbid communion in his hand if he can do it. Everything has been enabled. This is the Jesus says here from the, and then another confirmation from the 2008 book, Give Me a Drink. Jesus says, everything has been enabled for desecration and sacrilege, and my ministers do not care. They live comfortable with this. The laity give communion, and there will come a day when the holy sacrifice of the cross also will be degraded in such a way that they prevent me from descending into the host. The following can be quoted from a Masonic plan of 1925. How can the faithful no longer believe in the real presence of Jesus in the Eucharist? First, we must make people everywhere receive communion standing and then place their host in their hands. Prepared in this way, they will come to see the host as a symbol of fraternal coexistence. Indirectly, communion in the hand has also contributed to the moving of the tabernacles, which are no longer being in the center of the churches, but in a side area or in another room. This was led to no more kneeler in many temples of the West. With the practice of the communion in the hand is true the desecration of the Blessed Sacrament. The norm of the Catholic Church remains to have communion in the mouth, the only pleasing way to God to receive communion in the mouth, and on their knees, or standing, but always in the mouth from the hands of a priest only. St. Francis of Assisi says this, only they, the priest, should administer it, not others. This is letter 2A to all the faithful, 3.5. When you hear the argument, the church has allowed it, remember that you are the church and not the disobedient and treacherous bureaucracies found somewhere far away and inaccessible. The church has not allowed it, but has tolerated it only under pressure. And here is what Jesus tells Saint Bridget of Sweden in 1373. Look, daughter of mine, I left my priests 5 gifts, and the 5th one is the privilege of touching my most holy flesh with their hands. And then finally, Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta was on a trip to New York, and she was asked during an interview, what is the greatest evil in the world today? Now keep in mind, this woman has seen poverty everywhere, so everyone assumed that that's what she was going to say. But you know what she answered? She said, wherever I go, what makes me the saddest is communion in the hands. And so we must wonder if these greatest saints regarded communion in the hands so important. Who are we to question that? Who are we to question that? And if we truly believe that Jesus himself is in that little piece of bread, his body and blood are in it, his beating, throbbing heart is in it, who are we to receive Jesus standing? And do you know how many people take that host? There are Satanists out there that take the host in their hands and put it in their pockets, and they go and they do black masses with Jesus. They use the host, the Eucharist. Why do you think Satanists are after the Eucharist? Why do you think? Because it's just a piece of bread? Why don't they go steal the one from the Christian church down the street? They come to the Catholic Church to steal the host. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Because they know that that's the body and blood of Jesus Christ. And they know that if they can use that in their black masses, they can gain power, much more power. But if you receive Jesus on the tongue, it's a lot harder to pull him out when he's all mushy in your tongue. It's a lot harder. And you know, I have to tell you personally, It's true. When you receive Jesus on the tongue, it was embarrassing for me to do that. It was embarrassing. I was just so shy about it. I did not want to do it. But once I did it, I'm telling you, it's true. You can feel Jesus's heart throbbing into yours. You can feel his love for you. You feel the graces. You feel God's presence in you so much more powerfully. So I hope that today when you watch this video, you realize that this is really important, and that Jesus Christ is in that little piece of bread, and that the creator of the entire universe is going to be in your body. Are you not to kneel down and bend before him? Are you not to receive him the way he wants to be received? Is it so hard to do? So I think we can all ask God for the grace to do that from now on. Let's ask him to make us bold and brave for his sake. Let's stand up for Jesus. So let's rise. When we kneel down, we actually rise. We rise in holiness, in humility. We're not, the song that I chose was I Will Rise, which is kind of the opposite of what I'm talking about. I'm talking about lowering ourselves, bending down, bending our knees to receive Jesus. But it's true. When we receive Jesus worthily, we will rise. We will rise to courage, to strength, to humility, to love for God and neighbor. We rise to all the graces that God has for us. So I hope that you will join me and that you will rise by kneeling down and receiving Jesus the way he ought to be received. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Subscribe and like the channel and forward it.